Okay, good evening. We will call the Common Council to order, and I will ask the clerk to take a quick roll call.
Alderperson Rote.
Here.
Stefanski.
Here.
Tenorio.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
Reinke. Reinke. 10
Here.
present.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join us if you are able. It will be led this evening by Alderman Dan Rote.
I pledge allegiance to the
Thank you. And we will now move on to public hearings. We have 2 this evening. I'll ask the clerk to read public hearing number 1.
Ordinance to adopt the City of West Allis 2040 Comprehensive Plan.
Mr. Scher.
Thank you, Mayor. Can everyone hear me okay? Just making sure.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Good evening. First hearing is to update our 2040 comprehensive plan. And this is the update to what we had adopted 10 years ago in February of 2011, our 2030 plan. So this is just a minor update that we're recommending approval of. As part of the state statutes, we're required to update the plan every 10 years. And this is our 10-year horizon where we're looking to update it. We're in need of some additional census data. As you know, the full census has not been yet released. So we are waiting for that, and we'll update it even further upon receiving that to see where we're at in terms of demographics. But the demographics that we've used in our update for the 2040 version of this plan has been utilized from some of the American Community Survey updates, more recent updates, as well as from our 2018 strategic planning exercise. So some of those demographics have been, worked into this document and updated accordingly. Are you guys seeing a
Yeah, please.
something in the middle of the screen?
window.
Let me see if I can change something here. One moment. Apologize for that. Okay, I think this should work. Okay, so we're going to be conducting this update in 2 phases. So tonight's the minimal update, really just getting into some of the formatting, some house cleaning, updating some photographs, going through some of the more recent photographs and images and updates to different redevelopment areas within the plan. And then we're going to come back in some years, and probably several years from now, once we have the benefit of the added census data, we align with that of the strategic plan update for the next horizon. We're going to come back with more routine updates of this plan. We're not going to wait another 10 years to update the whole thing. So there will be more subsequent amendments and so on coming to you as this plan needs to evolve and adapt to the times. So planning's going to do a much better job of staying current with this document and updating it and keeping the council and our community engaged. To date, the timeline you see here on the right-hand column, this has gone to the Plan Commission on January 27th. They recommended approval. The full draft of this plan was available starting February 5th. So there's been time for the public to review it and comment upon it, some of the formatting updates. And then tonight is our public hearing. Actually, last week we had just a discussion before the Safety and Development Committee who heard this very similar presentation. Next slide. Again, just sort of reinforces the two-phase approach. First phase being the minimal update to meet statutory requirements, and then the second phase will be more involved in depth analysis and perhaps taking a look at new and improved redevelopment areas and economies within the overall plan. We'll also be doing quite an extensive community engagement outreach as part of that second phase. So this is just to I'll get into right now some of the updates that have been performed within the from the 2030 plan to what's before you tonight in the 2040 plan. The first off, the easiest thing to recognize is really just the formatting change. On the left-hand side is the 2030 plan. The 2040 plan adopts incorporates the new image of the city, the new branding effort, recognizes all of that effort that has gone into rebranding the city and enhancing its image through a strategic vision. So you can see just the overall justification of the pages a change from like a landscape to a portrait. And then within the comprehensive plan, by statute, we're required to indicate the various 10 elements, ranging from neighborhood goals, economic development goals, parks and open space, community facilities, our redevelopment goals, economic development, intergovernmental cooperation, and then we have an implementation section at the very end. So within each of these elements, though, there are various objectives, goals, objectives, and recommendations within many of these chapters. And while some of that, it really hasn't changed that much. I mean, we still have a number of similar redevelopment areas throughout the city, the 27 different redevelopment areas. We'll get into that in a little bit later. But we're really just sort of reinforcing these 10 elements, and we've made updates within each of the chapters, to reflect some more recent redevelopment activity and changes in our city in the past 10 years. One of those changes is the community profile chapter. And this chapter in our 2030 plan was called the issues and opportunities. In 2040, we're renaming it to community profile in the 2040 plan, and really just sort of freshening up some of the demographics as best we can without the full census data. Again, adapting some of that information from the American Community Survey data from the census, as well as from our strategic visioning sessions in 2018. And more or less just, taking a look at what are our current strengths and opportunities is within the city. And, I'll just run through these fairly quickly, but, West Allis, some of the, looking forward at the next planning horizon within our 2040 plan, we see that, West Allis offers a very diverse business environment. We're no longer focused on just one employment sector, one major business sector. Allis-Chalmers is gone, and we have a new opportunity here. Fortunately, the council has had foresight to take a look at, redevelopment as one of the strong, tools to use to recreate the city. And more recently, we've had extensive branding efforts to reimage and proclaim the city as a new place for people to choose to live. So, and then also another strength is our participation rate within our labor force is very high, and then we have people within the ranges it's very high within the ranges of 25 to 64. The labor market is also highly connected, and we have a younger population. The up and comers within our city between the ages of 20 and 39, basically 1 out of every 3 residents is within the age demographic. So that's a good thing to have a young up and coming workforce that's highly connected. We're in a geographic center of our metropolitan area, 15 minutes from anywhere. We've often said, so we feel that these are definite strengths. Moving on through this list here, the diversity within our community is unlike other communities. We're an urban community just outside of Milwaukee, and we're a very diverse community. So that diversity is growing, and it's also an asset. It's something we need to embrace, and it's going to really drive a lot of our economic development and improvements within our city. So we're 1 out of every 5 residents, or roughly about 20 or 25%, is of a person of color, Hispanic, Latino, African American, American Indian, Pacific Islander, and so on. So the other part of our city is that we are an affordable place to live. Again, great location, affordable place to live. We have home prices that aren't exorbitant, and we offer a range of different housing styles. We get into that more so within our housing chapter. And then the overall crime rate is low. It's in the past several years, it's actually lower. So we feel that these are definite strengths and opportunities upon which our city can grow in the future. One change that bring before the council tonight within the plan is, again, within our community facilities chapter and chapter 8. This is a slight amendment which I'd recommend you incorporate into the chapter 8, page 115. The police department has just given me some updated information. Just got it on Monday, so it wasn't part of the drafted version that you received last week with the agenda, but you can just see some of the updates and house cleaning efforts that we're taking, I guess, this is one example within one of the chapters, but just sort of updating some of the police statistics. And again, just reinforces that in many of these categories here, crime is lower than what it was previously in previous versions of the comp plan. Population projections in the 2030 plan, we had projected that there would be an uptick and an increase in population in about 2030, sort of towards the end of that planning horizon. While we're not quite at 2030 yet, but we still feel that this is a definite possibility, and it's something that's definitely likely to happen over the next, in 2030 into 2040, that we're going to start to see the population levels increase. Some of those drivers are going to be the new housing starts, and we've realized some of that already within the last planning horizon, the past 10 years, with Element 84 apartments, as well as the West apartments. Those are the housing starts that you see here in the column, the 2018 column. And there's been some modest, some very low, but some modest increases over the past 10 years. But we see that continuing with the redevelopment areas that we have, and people choosing West Allis as a place to live. We also have a very decent housing stock within the city. It's an older housing stock in many cases, but it's something that we're also going to be looking at. We have different rehabilitation programs out there, which we feel are going to be beneficial, again, for people to take advantage of, modernize their homes, and make it a newer home with the larger bathrooms, the larger bedrooms, more modern conveniences. Those types of things we think are going to be attractive for people to choose West Allis. Again, our location within the regional center of the metro area is we're within proximity of interstates, freeway systems, Highway 100. We've got a full grid system of streets. We're a walkable city as well. All these things are building blocks for a good place to live. And then again, back to our diversity of our community, the growing diversity of our community. That's a strength which we feel is going to also increase our population. The neighborhood section of our comp plan really hasn't changed too much. We still have, the 26 different neighborhoods broken up into quadrants, of the city, 4 quadrants. And then we're just sort of reinforcing the different corridor programs that we have within the 2040 update, like our Highway 100 study and our National Avenue Corridor study. And also aligning with the redevelopment chapter, some of the different redevelopment activities that have taken place over the past 10 years. We're just calling off some of those highlights within the neighborhoods chapter. The economic development chapter has been updated, and again, it's really one of to sort of highlight some of the different tools that our economic development team uses to both attract and retain businesses, as well as to improve the redevelopment potential of our city. So you can see here that a lot of the different tables and graphs within the section have been updated. On the left-hand side, that we've done some an overview of a new list of our TIF districts, and we've highlighted some of the different TIF districts that have performed quite well. And some of those highlights are included within that. We have an updated list of our large taxpayers, as well as some of our, you know, different employers that employ close to, or if not over 1,000 people. We actually have 3 or 4 of those that are up close to 1,000 employees, some cases over that, as well as updated photos from that chapter. Within the redevelopment chapter, chapter 9, this is the same map that is part of the 2030 plan, and you'll recognize some of the different illustrations on the right-hand side. This shows about 27 different areas within the city that we feel are still viable for redevelopment. And I'm sure, you know, as you know, there's different things that we've already touched upon within these areas, but there's always the next property over, the other property down the block that's, you know, perhaps just outside of one of these areas that we still feel that they're viable hotspots for development. So we want to keep those intact, and we'll just continue to build upon the success of the past 10 years. One such example is Area 5. This is the Milwaukee Mile, State Fair Park Milwaukee Mile. It goes into a little bit more detail about some possibilities, sort of, again, thinking big about the future. What if racing was no longer, you know, an amenity at the Milwaukee Mile? What would we do with that 80 acres of land? And Concept 5 gets into that type of strategy about, you know, maybe taking a look at a mixed use, a neighborhood type of development with daylighting the Honey Creek, which runs under, you know, between turn 3 and 4, runs through the Milwaukee Mile, daylighting that creek, creating a water feature more or less. And then around that, Riverwalk, walkable community, hotels, apartments, condominiums, you know, housing, office space. It could be a real mixed use neighborhood. So all that takes a lot of coordination, because again, we don't control that land, it's state-owned land. It's something that I guess we would definitely need to collaborate with the state and be one of the, you know, the stakeholders in that discussion. So again, this plan is meant to plan big, think about the future. And with that, you know, we still feel these are viable, you know, goals and objectives for the 2040 horizon. Just another, the Allis yards, just sort of taking a look at some of the surface parking lots along 70th Street. And more recently, there's been some progress towards that on the west side of 70th, as well as on the east side of 70th with the raising of the East Allis office building. Our land use chapter, this is the land use map within the chapter 10 of the land use map. Again, this is very similar land use map. We're looking again at, you know, we're going to let this be our guide for the 2040 horizon. However, I guess what I would say is that we're going to be coming back to the council in the near future with some priorities of areas that we feel along the Highway 100 corridor and elsewhere, other corridors within the city, where we think that perhaps the land use should change from, you know, if it's light industrial now, maybe it should be mixed use or commercial, or vice versa. So there's going to be some things that we're going to want to bring to the Common Council and seek your direction on priority of what should be perhaps rezoned or considered for land use amendments for the future. One area I'd like to point out is the Highway 100 corridor. As you know, we're looking at some areas on the North Gateway this evening, or we have over the past several weeks. But another area would be in the Highway 100 in Cleveland area, where National, Cleveland, Highway 100 all come together. There are some areas within that part of the intersection that are split zone. Some are light industrial, commercial. I think we'd like to take a look at unifying that into one commercial district to the other, rather than having a split zone situation. That's just one example of something we'd be coming back to the council with in the future. The last slide I have here is just again, just sort of the implementation section of our plan. And on the right hand side, you know, in the 2030 plan, we had the different goals, objectives, you know, recommendations. This is more or less the same with some updates. I've highlighted some of the the updates, and we've prioritized them with a little checkbox. I mean, this is just one small sample. There's a whole chapter devoted to this, but I recommend, if you haven't already, take a look at that. And there are, if there are, upon making consideration of this evening, if you so choose, I mean, and if you have other things you want to talk about, other comments, by all means, the planning department's here to talk about that. Our economic development colleagues as well. We're happy to take a look at future updates to this plan. It's a evolving document. It's not something that we just should be changing once every 10 years. It's something we should be looking at annually and making changes within that same horizon. So we want it to be a living document. We're aligned with our communications team, a great team that's been very helpful, and will continue to be helpful to really get the word out there on this. And we're looking forward to engaging with the public in our next phase, our next round of updates. But for this evening, we're recommending approval of this. The Planning Commission had recommended approval, and we feel it's a good update to meet the statutory requirements. And with that, that's my presentation. But thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. Any questions from the Common Council on public hearing number 1?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman
Alderman
Vitale.
Vitale. Go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, I have a few questions in reference. I do appreciate the package or the presentation you put together, but I hear that when we're talking about moving forward with many zoning areas, I feel I hear the words commercial, but I believe for the sake of the city, for the future, I mean, we should reserve some for areas just as well for light industrial. We can just move ahead and concentrating more on the commercial side. I mean, how much commercial do we really need? How many apartments or hotels we need? I mean, I know we have some of them already, and like I say, I mean, anything that has been in front of us, probably it's workable, but we have to be cautious for the future. I think we should leave some sites, that should be, I think, retained as light industrial, because really, I mean, even in the business section, today I read that there is some discussions about try to, growing within our community, within the state, to bring have some manufacturing, something, for people to have a decent jobs, I mean, retailing and all that's great. I mean, they provide jobs, but they're not the same benefits, that they're not the same type of family living pay, so that's why, I think, this is a good proposal, but there is some things they have to be really worked out, to be cautious, not just for today, but for tomorrow. I mean, I know we can make changes in the future just as well. Probably I won't be around, but the fact is that I think some of the areas should be retained and maintained as light industrial. To me, that's directions, I think, for the future, That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Alderman
Thank you.
Vitale.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale. Any other questions from the council? Okay, hearing none, we will close public hearing number 1, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 2.
Resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of South 86th Street from West Cleveland Avenue to South Osage Avenue and South Dakota Street from South Osage Avenue to South Orleans Avenue by new concrete construction with miscellaneous walk, new driveway approaches, storm sewer relay, sanitary sewer relay, water main relay, building services, utility adjustments, and storm under drain. That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much. All right, we'll turn it over to staff, Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. Okay, this is the public hearing for 86th and Dakota. Here's a diagram of the streets which kind of flow together. They're essentially one street. So we're going from Cleveland on the north to Orleans on the west, southwest. Here's an actual aerial photo taken in 1949. It shows that this is really just a seal coat road. It always has been. When this was taken in 1949, I can't tell if they'd actually put the tar down, but really a seal coat road is just gravel with tar squirted on top. They've never had anything more. They've never had a real street that was concrete or asphalt. The subdivision was annexed into the city in 1954 from the rural town of Greenfield. So we inherited this subdivision from the town of Greenfield. And like I said, they've just never had a real street. I call it real. Here are some pictures from the street, the seal coat road, and here's how they do a seal coat. I don't know why they probably didn't use horse and buggy, but they probably had a truck like this that just put the tar down on top of the stone, and then they put some more stone on. So it was really just a temporary road, I imagine, that lasted for 80 years, and it's still there. And there's a lot of potholes, and beyond the potholes, there's just no drainage because they've never put in any curb and gutter. I quite frankly don't know where all the water goes when it rains. There is a lot of erosion here along the edges where the mud is just eroding away. If it, a street should either have curb and gutter or it should have ditches, and this street has neither. So there's really no place for the water to go. So we would be putting in new concrete curb and gutter to catch the water, and a new concrete pavement would look like this. And this would be the first time that this subdivision or this street would ever have a permanent road like this. But we'd also be doing some minor sewer work, not a lot because the sewer is a little bit newer. We would be putting in new storm sewer because a lot of it, like I said, doesn't have storm sewer. There would be some sanitary work. The sanitary sewer dates to the same year, 1941. Very little water main work because that actually was put in 1967, so it's not that old. And an important point, all of these houses already have copper water services. There's no lead pipes going to the houses, so there's no need for replacing any lead in this neighborhood. And last year we did put in new LED streetlights in anticipation of this project. So they already have a new streetlight system with LED lights. We did get some concerns about cut through traffic and speeding. We did do a speed study, traffic count. We found that the average speed was actually only 20.8 miles per hour. The 85th percentile speed was 26, and there was one bad guy going 42 miles an hour. I imagine there were 15% of the population was going above 26. So 15% of the population the motorists were speeding. So there are some techniques that we can use to try and slow the 15% down. This is from 119th Street. This is what I was contemplating using there. Bump outs, pinch points. They just naturally encourage motorists to slow down because they're kind of a bottleneck. They've been shown to reduce speeds by about 4%. And they're more effective than warning signs or stop signs because most people, quite frankly, ignore signs, even stop signs, and it wouldn't require the police to be out there all the time because they're always there and they're always doing their job. And so you wouldn't need to have the police there, running radar or something. So we're going to look at designing some of these into the street to slow down some of the traffic, although I'm saying it's really not a big problem based on the study that we did, but there are a few people that are speeding. Here's the cost of the project: $650,000 for the pavement, sanitary sewer. We're doing $453,000, so quite a bit of work. New storm sewer, $350,000, and just very little water main, $15,000. So $1.4 million for this project. The streetlights were done last year, like I said, so they were already put in. They're not a part of this budget. Here is how the street is being funded. The special assessments from the property owners are 19%. That's $281,000. But the rest of the funding will come from citywide fees and taxes. So the sanitary fund is a citywide fee, that's 31%. The stormwater utility or fund is 24%. And the water utility is 1%, and that's also a citywide fee. And then 25% will be coming from the general property taxes, 372,000. So 19% from the residents, and then the rest, the 81% from the rest of the city combined. Here's a sample calculation for how we calculate the special assessments. Everybody got a estimate in the mail. Most of the lots in this neighborhood are 50 feet wide, so they're actually a little bit wider. The assessment rate's $103. That's a little bit higher because this is, like I said, a first time that they've ever had a new road put in, and the rate is a little bit higher for first timers. And then that would come to $5,184. And then there would be a cost for the driveway. Everyone's driveway is a little bit different. So everyone's final cost is going to be a little bit different because of the square footage of their driveway. But the important point is that what you got in the mail was not a bill. The bills will not be mailed out until March of 2022. So over a year from now, before you would get a bill, the road will be done. We'll all be satisfied with it. And then we will bill you next year. And if you choose to sign up for the 10-year or 5-year installment plan, you wouldn't actually make your first installment payment until December of 2022. So that's at least 21 months from now, almost 2 years from now. So we're not assessing people during the pandemic. We're hoping that the pandemic will be long gone 2 years from now, and everything will be back to normal. So like I said, there are different payment options, lump sum payment when you get the bill in March, or you can do the 5-year plan or the 10-year plan. We do have 4% interest, but the city is not making a profit off that. The city is borrowing the funds for this project, and we're paying interest to municipal bondholders over the next 10 years. So the city is merely passing those interest costs on to the people that choose the 5 or 10-year plan. The city does not make a profit off of that interest. So assuming a $5,000 bill, your payment in 2022 would be $726 for the whole year. That would be you pay once a year typically on your tax bill. That comes out to $60 a month. And then in your 10th year, in the year 2031, your bill for the whole year would be $539 or $45 per month. But why do we special assess? We have been special assessing for over 110 years. And historically, the residents have actually paid the full cost or 100% of the cost of the street in front of their house, because the street is in front of their house and it is a unique benefit that they alone are enjoying. The rest of the city is not enjoying the street in front of your house. So it's a unique benefit to you, which is the basis in state law why we have the authority to do special assessments. In this case, we're collecting $281,000, which is about 19% of the cost. So we're nowhere near what used to be done with the 100%. The assessment rate of $103 is the same for any property in the city, no matter how wide your street is or how high the traffic volumes are or how high the actual bid prices are. You are locked in at $103.69 per foot for anyone in the city. So everyone is treated equally, perfectly equally at the same rate. And I just wanted to point out that, like I said, it has been a state law for over 110 years. And there have been over 100 cases that I'm familiar with where judges have ruled that this is a fair and reasonable method for recouping the cost of these projects. So it certainly stood the test of time for over a century. Furthermore, special assessments are the only way to ensure that tax-exempt schools, churches, charities, hospitals, county parks, utilities, railroads pay their fair share too. No one is exempt from special assessments. Even though there are 430 properties in the city that don't pay any property taxes, and many of those tax-exempt schools, churches, hospitals, and county parks are very large pieces of property, and they actually encompass about 28% of the city's total land area. So they're only contributing to the city's costs through these special assessments, which is another reason why we do it. Likewise, businesses, corporations, and manufacturers pay a higher rate to account for their higher traffic. Their assessment rate in this case would be $129 to $155 per foot. This is actually a map here of all those 430 properties that are tax exempt. And you can see the size that the colored areas are 28% of the city's land area. This particular street is unique. Almost all West Allis residents have paid their fair share for their street or alley at least once or twice or even 3 times throughout the history of the city. But like I said, the property owners on 86 and Dakota have never paid for their street in the 80 years since the subdivision was built. They did pay for some sidewalk repair on occasion, but they've never paid for a street and they've never had a real street as a result. So furthermore, most residents in West Allis have actually paid for their street or alley in the last 20 years. This map here shows all the colored areas are properties that have paid in the last 20 years. So, and even in the Brosen Manor subdivision, several people have paid for their streets in recent years. So, so everyone eventually pays their fair share, and finally coming due for the people on this street that have been waiting for 80 years. During construction, it will look like this. There will be some fresh concrete. You'll not be able to get into your driveway while this is going on. So you'll have to park on side streets. No permits will be needed. The police will be made aware to keep an eye on things. If you need a disabled parking spot, we can make arrangements to put those on a side street as close as possible to your house. The sidewalks in this neighborhood are actually for the most part staying in. So you should be able to get to and from your house, at least by sidewalk during that time. And we can make it as easy as possible to get to a disabled parking spot if that's something you need. So let us know, give us a call. And then I just would conclude that the best way to keep up to date on the status of the project is through our construction and progress reports. If you go to the city website, it's the 10th one down. You can sign up for that. It comes at least once a week in the summer and maybe even sooner or more often. Gives you updates not only on the 86th and Dakota project, but would give you updates on all of our projects about as far as status and closures and schedule and who to contact as well. So with that, that's our presentation.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Daniels. Are there any questions from the members of the Common Council? Okay, hearing none. I know we have a few public comments that came in, and I will ask the clerk to present to the council.
The first public comment was from Diane Braden. She states, "Hello, I received your letter regarding the new paving project slated for 86th and Dakota. Let me start by stating I'm totally on board with this project because the street definitely needs it, but could we please get some additional stop signs posted at the corner? I love speed bumps, but I hate to see the price tag for this project increase drastically. So a 3-way stop would be a nice compromise. As it stands now with no stop signs, it's a straight shot from Montana to Orleans and cars just fly down the street. Once it's newly paved, I fear it will be a dragway. I'm not sure if you realize this, but people often use 86th Street as a shortcut for avoiding stoplights on 84th and Cleveland or 84th and Beloit. There are several young families moving in here along with many, many dogs, and one of these days, someone's going to get hit. There's also a school on the corner of Beloit and Osage with additional traffic buzzing around. I'd appreciate you taking this into consideration as you're finalizing your plan for this construction and welcome any feedback. Thanks so much, Diane." And then from Jillian Dretzka, "Good morning. I would like to understand the following. Why has this project been chosen to be completed during the pandemic? Why is this project payment plan charging so much interest during a pandemic?" And then thirdly, from Christopher Weincheck, "Hello, I understand the need to continue with concrete curb, sewer, etc. project. However, we're coming out of a pandemic where multiple people lost their jobs and businesses suffered. I feel it is really poor timing and unrealistic to expect people to absorb the cost for this project this summer. Offering to defer the payments at 4% interest is helping either. The project needs to be rescheduled.
Thank you. And I think several of those questions were answered in the presentation from Mr. Daniels. I don't know if, Pete, if you have any follow-up comments. I know you mentioned when the bills would come out as opposed to the, go ahead.
And I did actually email all three of those people individually.
Okay, perfect.
The first one about the traffic, I guess I would prefer to try using the bump outs. Stop signs, like I said, are largely ignored, and they actually give kind of a false sense of security. So we're going to try using the bump outs, and I told her that, and so I think that will help. And the other two about the pandemic, yeah, like I said, nobody has to pay anything if you're on the installment plan for at least 21 months. So almost 2 years from now. And if Dr. Fauci is right, the pandemic should be over by Labor Day. So that'll give a year and a half to recuperate and get back to normal before anyone would have to pay anything. So I think, we're giving enough advance notice that people can hopefully be prepared by the December of 2022 to make their first payment.
Thank you. Then that will conclude public hearing number 2. And we will move on to item E.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move to suspend the rules to allow an alternate order of business on this evening's agenda.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Tenorio. All in favor of suspending the rules?
Aye.
Opposed? The rules are suspended. Item F is the mayor's report. He didn't ask for this, but I just want to take a minute to commend and thank Alderman Weigel for all of the snow clearing that he does on the skate park, especially with all the snow that we've had this year. I drove by yesterday and he was out there with the snow blower. And then as I drove by about an hour later, he was still out there with the snow blower, but luckily somebody came and also had their snow blower to help him. So I just wanted to recognize him and thank him for that. I know that the families in our community appreciate that. That does conclude the mayor's report. Moving on to item G, do we have any reports from the alderpersons? Okay, then we'll move to item H.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the February 2nd, 2021 Common Council meeting.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Vitale. Are there any changes to the minutes from February 2nd? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We will now move on to item I, our standing committee reports, and first up is safety and development.
Mayor Devine. Item 4 on the Safety and Development Committee agenda is an ordinance to amend the official West Allis zoning map to rezone property located at 1436 South 92nd Street from RC2 residence to C2 Neighborhood Commercial District, submitted by Andy Lopak. Report from the committee is committee unanimously agrees for passage. I move for adoption of the committee report on this item.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tenorio.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
10-0, item carries. Thank you.
Item 5 on the agenda is an ordinance to amend the official West Allis zoning map by rezoning properties located at 331, 333 South 108th Street, and the One Star block of South 108th Street from M1 Light Industrial to C3 Community Commercial District. And the committee recommends unanimously that this ordinance be passed. I so move.
Thank you. We have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
No.
Stefanski,
No.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
No,
I'm sorry,
no,
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
7 in favor, 3 opposed.
Motion carries.
I then refer you to items 6 and 7 on your agenda. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Alderman Tenorio, the vice chair, as I will be recusing myself from any discussion or voting on these two items.
Item 6, ordinance to amend the official Westall zoning map, amending section 12.05 relating to the following properties: 6500 West Washington Street, tax key numbers 439001-037, 1323 South 65th Street, tax key numbers 439-0139-002, 1339 to 1347 South 65th Street, taxi number 439-0140-001, and the Safety Development Committee recommended passage as amended.
Thank you. Do you want to read item 7 with that, or are we taking those together or separate? I'm sorry, those are separate. Never mind. Alderman Lysick is out of both of them, but we'll take them separate. Sorry. Any discussion on item 6? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
aye,
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Present.
Ranky,
Aye.
9 in favor, 1 present or recused.
Motion
Items-
carries. And then Alderman Tenorio, item 7.
Item 7, ordinance to amend the official West Allis future land use map within the city's comprehensive plan, chapter 10 land use, from industrial and office to commercial land use. Safety and Development Committee recommended passage as amended.
We move approval.
Move for approval.
Thank you. Any discussion on item 7? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
no,
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Present.
Ranky,
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 present or recused.
Motion carries. Thank you. That will conclude the Safety and Development Committee. We will now go to the License and Health Committee report. Alderman Vitale.
Mr. Mayor, we have the meeting held on February 8th. All the members were present, and we have an ordinance authorized the court to issue operator license, which is 2021-008. It's item number 8. So if anybody has any discussions, or if they're fully aware of the change that was proposed by the License and Health, they can just address some of the questions.
We can take both of these together, Alderman, if you want.
Yes. Sure, we can get
Okay.
8 and 9, both of them together.
All right. Can you
Okay.
make the official motion to approve?
On the motion, I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the License and Health Committee? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Thank
We
you,
will
Mayor.
now, thank you, Alderman Vitale. We will now move on to item J, consent agenda. Are there any items that will need to be pulled out for separate votes?
Mayor Devine, Alderwoman Keene, if
Alderperson-
you could pull out number 13.
13, okay. Any others?
Mayor Devine, I have a question on items 11 and 12. I am in favor of the CPAT fee, but not the structure fee. And I noticed that 11 is an ordinance just referencing the structure fee, but 12 is a resolution authorizing the structure fire fee. So I guess I'd like to see both of those pulled out.
You'd like both of those split, you said?
Yes, please.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Any others for separate action?
Mayor Devine also
Yes.
so this is just the items in item K, or excuse me, J. The item 51 is referred to committee. That's not part of the consent agenda then, correct?
You are correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, then Attorney Decker, do you want to give me a nod? Are we going to take up the individual items first or the balance first? Or I guess you can't really nod at that.
It was a test, wasn't it?
Yes.
So yes, I have 11, 12, and 13 split out for division, so you can take the consent agenda at this point in time, and those 3 items will not be part of this consent agenda motion.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move to adopt, approve, and receive all matters on the consent agenda as presented or as recommended by staff, with the exception of items 11, 12, and 13.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the balance of the consent agenda.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, the motion carries. And now we have item 11.
Mr. Mayor, at this point in time, even a motion to refer items 51 through 54 to the identified committees would be in order.
Okay, we'll take item K. Somebody want to make that motion to the appropriate
Make a
committee?
motion to,
Again, Mayor Devine.
Yes.
Again, make a point of order. This has always been a standard part of our agenda, items referred to committee. I'm guessing when we accept the agenda, are not we accepting the fact that all these items are referred to committee automatically? That was always the ruling of our past city attorneys. So I'm a little confused at why we have to suddenly, because we're in a virtual meeting, make a motion to refer these items to committee. It's done automatically on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Is this a change?
Attorney Decker.
it is a change, and it's solely because we're using the consent agenda format. In past agendas, items would appear on committee agendas within the council meeting under a specific exception to the public record or public notice laws. Since we're not following that portion anymore, where we actually break out into the committees mid-meeting, and instead the committees don't actually meet, these items actually have to be referred to the committees because they're not being handled in the middle of a council meeting. That's the only reason why it's this way, is because of the change in the format of the agenda from the recess meeting style to the consent agenda style. But in the past, that would have been correct. We would not have had to refer them to committee.
The agenda calls for them to be referred to the committee, so it is publicly noticed. It says items referred to committee, and it states the committees they're referred to under each item. So I
Correct.
guess I'm,
Just like the other
Yeah.
items on the agenda, recommend approval or recommend passage of things. Those are recommendations that don't actually occur until the council acts on them. And so this would be an example of where that's the recommendation from staff, but they don't happen because if the council wanted to refer these items to a different committee or didn't want to refer them to a committee at all, the council have that option.
okay, but in past, even when we didn't have these virtual meetings, Kale, items would appear on the agenda and were referred to committee that weren't acted on at recess. They were held over for a full committee meeting, and that was never formally referred to committees. The agenda item refers it to committee. I guess, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think we need to have a discussion on this because I think it's a superfluous motion, quite frankly.
I'm happy to talk to you about that offline at some point in time.
Yeah.
If the council would just indulge me on this one, I'd appreciate a motion for now,
Yeah,
but I'm happy to talk to you.
Okay,
I made a motion already.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to refer to committee items 51 through 54. Any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
aye,
Ranky,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Thank you. And then we'll go back to our separate action items 11, 12, and 13.
Yeah, Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
I move for approval of item 11.
Second.
I don't know if we need a second on that or,
Sorry then, Mayor.
okay, no, you got it. You are correct, Alderperson Ranky. Any discussion then on the motion, item 11?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Weigel.
if I could just share my thoughts on this structure fire fee. I am not in favor of it. In committee, the chief pooler kind of filled in some details on it. It seems like it would probably bring in about $18,000 a year. That's a rough number to guess. That money apparently would not go directly to the fire department for any special program. It would just go to the general city budget. This idea that we're going to charge people when they have a structure fire in their home kind of really bothers me. This is the question where people are going to say, what am I paying my taxes for? And the thing that really scares me is that someone might delay or not call at all when they really need our help the most. I understand that most people's homeowners insurance, and again, it was conveyed to us that most people's homeowners insurance would pay this structure fire fee. But honestly, I haven't reviewed my policy, and I'm wondering how many of the elders reviewed theirs. I'm thinking almost all of us are homeowners, but I'm wondering if all of us know that our homeowners policy is going to cover this. This is a new fee in our area. Apparently, the chief said that I always ask, what do our neighbors do? We'd be breaking new ground. I'm going to say it's only $18,000. To our citizens, $18,000 is a lot of money, but in the scheme of things for our city budget, it's really not even a drop in the bucket. So again, my concern is someone might understand that this is there and go, oh, I can take care of this myself. And then those precious seconds of the fire at the front end where a call to 911 could have made a big difference. I just can't support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Mayor Devine,
Mr. Mayor.
Alderperson Ranky and then Alderman Vitale next.
do we have any idea what the fee would be? The chief didn't mention that, and so I would like to know what exactly would the fee be?
Yeah, Mayor, I can
Yes,
answer that.
it's $500.
500.
Marty just did, and so did.
500.
$500.
$500.
per call.
Alderman,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Alderman Vitale.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The question, I do agree with Alderperson Marty Weigel. The fact that is, I mean, the amount is really is not drastic, but the fact it is that we already have connected or attached on many of the city, through the taxes and water bills and everything else. People already are pay or business places or, house homeowners, they now pay for some of the additional services, which it keeps probably the amount of the tax dollar, the property tax dollar, maybe a little bit down because we have some user fees, actually, that's what they are. So that's why I'm not kind of, I agree on that. I concur with Alderman Marty Weigel really on that, I just, there should be something more digested before I think we go ahead and approve that, really. I mean, so that's, again, it's up to the council to determine and the wishes,
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to approve item 11 and a second. There's no other discussion. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
No.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
No,
Weigel,
No.
Grisham,
You're muted, Suzette.
My apologies, no.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Unmute Dana. Oh,
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
6 in favor, 4 opposed.
Motion carries. Now we'll move on to item 12.
And Mayor Devine, I move for approval of item 12.
Mr. Mayor?
Second.
Motion, there's a second. Any discussion on item 12?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Weigel.
I'd like to make an amendment to separate out the fire candidate fee versus the structure fire fee in item 12.
I will just check with our city attorney that is doable.
Second.
So there are,
Separated.
yeah, so the idea is either to move to amend this by removing one of them, or would you like to divide them to two separate questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Lowe?
You prefer to
I guess
divide them?
Divide.
Okay. So because these two items are not related to the same question, that they can exist independent of each other, it takes just a single comment from the alderperson to divide them. So at this point in time, I'd recommend that the council address the resolution to include the structure fire fee only in the fee schedule, and then a separate question will come up to include the CPAT fee.
So we do not need a motion right now, or we do need a motion on the,
Nope, because the items are not related. They can exist independently of each other. All it takes is a single request from another person to separate them. And so
Okay.
there'd be a
I'll make
separate
that
motion
request.
instead.
thank you. Okay, so then I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the structure fire fee portion of item 12.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
No.
Tenorio,
aye.
Vitale,
no,
Weigel,
No.
Grisham,
No.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
No. I'm sorry, aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
No.
5 to 5,
Chair votes aye.
6 to 5.
Item carries. And now, if I word this correctly, feel free to interrupt me if I don't, Attorney Decker. I will ask the clerk to call the roll to vote on the portion regarding the candidate physical agility test fee on item 12.
Procedure that's accurate. You could call for a discussion if you'd like.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. And now we have item 13.
Mayor Devine,
Yes, Alderperson
like-
Keene.
to make a motion to amend the language where it now states taking the total contracted amount not to exceed 17,780 and amend that language to taking the total contracted amount to 27,780. The original amount in the motion that was approved was 17,780, and the additional not to exceed 10,000. So that would actually bring the total to 27,780. And in the resolution, the language states that the total is 18,870, which is incorrect.
I second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. Any discussion? And just so I understand this is not going to impact the project. It's just fine tuning the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At this point in time, is this a motion to approve as amended? Is this an original motion? Because it did come from the committee.
The
It did not come from the committee, Kale.
Oh, it did not. Okay. Then in that case, if the original motion to approve is with a different number, then that would be the pending question before the council.
Okay, so this is on the amendment, correct?
Well, there was not a motion to approve an amendment, just a motion to approve this resolution with a substitute number in it. So it's the entire thing altogether right now.
Okay.
Well, Mayor, I thought Alderperson Keene made a motion to amend the resolution. Is that not correct, Alderwoman Keene?
Yeah, so that the total was accurate in
Correct,
the
the total.
resolution.
She moved to amend the total in a resolution to be correct because the numbers did not add up correctly.
The council could do two motions, this one for the amendment and one for the resolution as amended. That'd be in order. I just didn't hear someone move for approve the original before the amendments. That's why I was wondering procedurally, but we can assume that it's a motion to approve, and then now the amendment is what's before the council. So this vote would not be final. It would just be to change that number.
Yeah.
All right. So the vote right now is on the suggested amendment by Alderperson Keene.
Correct.
Okay. If there is no other discussion on that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, the amendment passes, and now we vote on the item as amended. Is there a motion?
I move for approve. I second it.
Who at the first? I didn't catch that.
I did, Mayor.
Okay.
I
Alderman
believe I
Vitale,
did, but that's okay, whatever you want to do.
and then Alderman Haas. Any discussion on the motion as amended? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Rote,
Aye.
Stefanski,
Aye.
Tenorio,
Aye.
Vitale,
Aye.
Weigel,
Aye.
Grisham,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Keen,
Aye.
Lysick,
Aye.
Ranky,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
I believe that covers everything. Alderman Lysick.
I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, March 2nd at 7 p.m.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we